Alright, we are back with another big fight week. Joe Fournier, KSI happening this weekend on Misfits 007 card on DAZN. And we're here to talk about this. There's also going to be videos about the upcoming UFC card, so tune in for that. But this fight is probably a little bit bigger, if we're going to be honest, amongst the general population, because KSI is a massive star, and he's facing off against a guy in Joe Fournier who isn't necessarily the biggest guy himself, but is a 9-0 pro. Like, this is kind of a legit test on paper. While yes, there are kind of asterisks you could put around this, it's still pretty impressive because Joe Fournier's boxing is pretty decent. Like, this is going to be a legit win. Would I say that this puts KSI above Jake Paul or other influencers? I wouldn't say so, nor do I think this proves that KSI is a good boxer. I do think it is a level up from the last guy he fought, which was Temper, I believe. So I'm going to be talking about the matchup and making my official prediction. Who do I think is going to win? Just to give you guys a rundown of other videos that are coming up this week, yes, we're going to be doing a UFC breakdown of the card because that is an amazing card coming up on ABC. Secondly, I'm going to do a video breaking down Salt Poppy. You guys asked for this a while ago. I've been waiting to make this video for the KSI fight week because Salt Poppy is going to be fighting Anthony Taylor, as well as giving my prediction on that fight. But the thing that I'm most excited for is that, yes, on Saturday, we are going to be live here on the channel at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so tune in for that. We're going to be reacting to the fight, as well as reacting to the UFC fight, so go tune in for that. The last time we did this for a KSI card, it didn't exactly go my way because Misfits took down my live stream and gave me a strike for no reason. Got fixed, but I had to end the stream early. Regardless, let's just hope that this doesn't happen again, and we're going to be here having some fun. If you guys seen other streams, you guys will know that we go hard on these streams, and we're gonna probably continue that even though it's the daytime. You know, we're gonna go hard, bring a few of my good friends, and we're gonna react to the fight. So anyway, I think I've bored you guys enough on the upcoming schedule. Just want to let you guys know what's going on, and let's get into this. All right, KSI Joe Fournier. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, KSI has been boxing for now like 5 years. You know, he did start on an amateur level, fought the likes of Logan Paul and FaZe Temper. Yes, he did fight, you know, those two bums on the same night, but both of them were, you know, pretty trash at boxing, let's be honest. So his legit wins really are over Logan Paul and FaZe Temper, but now he's going to be fighting Joe Fournier, who, like I said, although doesn't have exactly the best record, like his opponents have a losing record, that's typical in boxing, but Joe Fournier does know how to box. Like you could see from his fights, the guy has a basic knowledge of boxing, and he basically knows what to do. Not saying at all he's, you know, high level or anything like that, but this is going to be a decent scrap. Like, I think both guys have a good enough chance, and yes, I have been very critical of KSI's boxing. If you guys want to see a video of me breaking down his fight with Temper, basically going over the techniques that I think KSI needs to fix, as well as the techniques that I actually really do like of KSI, go tune in for that video. I'm going to put it on the screen. But to sum it up here real quick, I do think that KSI's boxing is flawed. Like, let's be honest, it's very flawed. You know, I think most people understand this. However, KSI is so unorthodox and so powerful that a lot of that makes up for his technique. Like, he isn't technically good at all. Those things combined really help him when fighting opponents that are of higher level. Like, honestly, I think KSI has a better chance of beating Tommy Fury than Jake does, simply because Jake is kind of used to, you know, jabbing, throwing the right hand, that typical boxing. KSI has very unique way of striking. You even see it with his karate stance, you know, and he also has knockout power. Like, he put Temper out cold, which I can't emphasize enough. Yes, Temper isn't exactly the best of opponents, but it is hard to knock out a guy that hasn't been knocked out before, especially a guy in Temper who has been training boxing a while, and I believe has done some martial arts stuff. Like we saw, Jake wasn't even able to knock out Gib cold. Like, that was an impressive win against a tricky southpaw that is way taller than KSI. So at least we know that KSI can box, he can fight, and he definitely deserves this matchup. And I did want to make a video breaking down Joe Fournier's boxing technique by watching a few of his fights. However, I realized that we can't take anything away from his opponents because his opponents are truly so bad. Like, his last fight was against a rapper who just learned how to box, quite similar to KSI's resume. And the thing about KSI is, you know, I don't need to be a genius here, but KSI moves forward. We all know his biggest weapon is that pressure, is that forward aggression, and it kind of makes up for his defensive shortcomings because his aggression kind of works as defense because the guy is constantly thinking, what do I throw, what do I do? And KSI is just moving forward, making his opponent think, and that's what he's going to need to do to Joe Fournier. If I'm Joe Fournier, I'm going to have to try to find a way to back up KSI because KSI on the back foot is nowhere near as good as KSI going forward. But we haven't seen that, and we're going to have to try to see, can Joe Fournier push him backwards? He's going to have to really use a really good jab, start feinting. A thing that worries me about this fight is that KSI did say recently, he said, look, he's going to have to be smart for this fight.
I just have to be smart, man. I just have to be smart. I know, like, with his experience, he can definitely put me into deep waters. And, you know, I prepared for that. I made sure, you know, whether it's a flash knockout, a complete knockout, or he brings me into deep waters, I'm going to be prepared for everything, man.
I doubt KSI is watching, but listen, you don't need to be smart for this fight. That is not the game plan you should be going into this fight. You should not try to go tit for tat with Joe Fournier. Could he beat him in a boxing match, a pure boxing match? Maybe, honestly. KSI probably isn't too much better than Joe Fournier, if we're being honest. However, that is the much more riskier option, and the option that I think would probably least favor him. If KSI is going to win this one, he needs to use his unorthodox power and just go forward, throwing weird combinations, giving Joe Fournier different looks. That's what's going to help him win this fight. I think for this fight, he should definitely try to work on cutting off the ring a lot better. I talked about it in the breakdown video, so I suggest you go check it out there. But he definitely needs to work on how he cuts off the ring, because his opponents could easily get through, and Joe Fournier is going to do this. Like, Joe Fournier's footwork is pretty decent. I think he'll be able to use those openings to get out in better space, and I think that, you know, from the get-go, KSI is going to have to try to go for Joe Fournier. Like, he cannot give this guy any breaks, and I'm curious to see how the gas tank of Joe Fournier holds up, because, yes, KSI is probably a very taxing guy to fight in terms of cardio, simply because he's just tracking you down and you're constantly worried. And especially the power that KSI has, like, you're threatened by that power. You're like, I don't want to get hit with one of those clean. And that's why a guy like Logan Paul, he froze under a guy like KSI, because he's just very hard to deal with. But I think if you're Joe Fournier, like I said, the game plan here is to try to use your jab, back up KSI, use your movement, and if KSI does manage to have a lot of aggression early, take it to the later rounds. If this was an 8-round fight, I'd feel a little bit more confident in Joe Fournier, but it's a 6-round fight. And I know that people say, oh, KSI has this insane cardio. I don't think he has insane cardio. I just think he's like a dog and just doesn't care if he's tired. You could definitely tell he's tired. He breathes out of his mouth constantly. In the Logan Paul fight, he got tired. The guy can get tired because he's over aggressive. He throws his shots with 100% power. I think KSI has gotten better with that since the Logan Paul 2 fight, but I still think that it's a weapon that Joe Fournier could take full advantage of. This fight for me is pretty easy to predict. I'm gonna go with KSI, and I think most people will. I think KSI is just gonna go forward, be super unorthodox. Joe Fournier is not gonna know what to do. I think I see the fight going either one or two ways. I think it's gonna be a first-round knockout where KSI catches him cold and Joe Fournier just can't get up, or Joe Fournier doesn't want to get up. I don't know what it's going to be, because we've heard Joe Fournier say, hey, he's willing to take a few shots from KSI. That's not such a good idea, because I think KSI legit has crazy knockout power. I think he hits harder than Jake. I think that's a dangerous game plan. Maybe he could take one, but I just think it's risky. Similar how I think it's risky for KSI to just try to box Joe Fournier. And I think I could see that being an outcome, or the more likely possibility, I think, is going to be that this fight will go to like the 3rd round. KSI is going to be abusing the body of Joe Fournier, just abusing his head. And I think it'll just build up, and I think we're going to get a 3rd round TKO. So that's just my prediction of how the fight's going to go. I don't think this is going to be a hard fight at all for KSI, if I'm going to be honest. Can it be a hard fight if Joe Fournier does prepare really good and use that jab, and I think really study KSI? Absolutely, because KSI has tons of openings for counters when he's going forward. There might even be a possibility where KSI gets knocked down just because he's so off balance, as we see tons and tons of times when he is fighting. He gets off balance all the time, and he might not get knocked down out of being hurt. It's just like sometimes he literally has 1 foot off the floor. I literally break this down in the breakdown video of KSI, but I don't think it'll really affect the fight much, because I think he'll get the finish anyway, and I don't think those knockdowns are really going to hurt him. I just think he'll be off balance. Can Joe Fournier knock him out? I don't think so. He couldn't really knock out guys that had bad boxing experience in his pro career, so I don't think he's going to be able to knock out KSI. I think his best chance of victory is just using that jab, maybe getting KSI tired throughout the later rounds. Maybe he could score a late TKO or something like that, but most likely his method is going to be a decision. But I'd probably go KSI by TKO in the 3rd round. But that's just going to be my prediction. You know, honestly, I am liking Joe Fournier. First of all, I'm going to say that because KSI has been worrying me with his body language. He does seem a little bit nervous for this fight. Saying 9-0 pro does kind of seem like a big deal, a bigger deal than it really is. Truth be told, I could be a 9-0 pro. Like, I could probably get 9 dudes that really suck and never box a day in their life, and I could probably be as much as a threat to Joe Fournier. Like, Joe Fournier has been successfully getting into the head of KSI. Like, you could tell that face-to-face, KSI was so uncomfortable. And yes, I know that he was dealing with a lot that week, but even in the Twitter space, you could tell KSI was upset about the reception of that face-to-face, went on the Twitter space trying to win it and just lost it, because Joe Fournier is a very smart guy.
It's like someone told you some boxing terms and now you use them all the time. Like, put on the pace, show the levels. What are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? Nothing you say makes any sense. It's a 6-round fight. What pace? It's not like we're going 12 rounds and it's going to make a difference in the 10th, 11th, and 12th. 6 rounds. Anyone that's boxed, anyone that's boxed for more than 2 years can do 6 rounds.
Did you see how fast that was?
Buddy, you're talking about the Call of Duty world champion. We've had this discussion before. Let's stop talking about FaZe.
Yes, yeah, cool.
Let's stop talking about him.
World champion, whatever.
Listen, let's talk about real boxers.
Did you see how I knocked him out? I guarantee.
And I
you'll
said
be
to you on the night,
interacting like that.
congratulations. I didn't say, oh shit, I'm scared. That's so scary.
No, you were surprised.
I said, did I not congratulate
You couldn't believe it. You couldn't
Did I not
believe
say,
that I knocked him out in that fashion.
did I not say congratulations?
And I think Joe Fournier can really sell the fight. Like, I really hope we get to see this guy fight after the KSI fight, because I'm actually becoming a fan. Like, I actually am going to be rooting for Joe Fournier to win this fight, because as you guys know, I'm not much of a fan of KSI personally, but I also don't hate him, so it's whatever. But I hope that Joe Fournier gets the win. I think that'll be a really funny outcome. And then the Jake Paul fight will be dead, like it probably is going to be anyway. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think of the fight. Let me know the prediction in the comment section below. Hopefully not a lot of you guys flame me for covering this influencer boxing scene. I know a lot of you guys get mad that I don't just stick to MMA, but I'm excited for this fight, and we're going to be streaming the UFC fight and the Misfits fight since they're happening at basically the same time. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.